Thanks for coming on this busy Sunday. And we had a very wonderful program today because our keynote speaker actually just come back from Taiwan. And before we start, we'd like to invite the host of this event is the Chairman Director of this Taiwan Center, and let's welcome David Chen.
Good evening. Thank you and welcome. First, I will invite you to join me to give Mr. Richardson a welcome applause. He just finished up 10 days in Taiwan, and he might have a little bit jet lag. I want to share with you, last time I was here, it was June last year. He made a 90-minute speech. I was so impressed. Believe me, I was so impressed. A lot of Taiwanese history, education, and I'm ashamed as a Taiwanese, I don't know as much as he does. It's terrible. And he just mentioned to me he made a trip to Taiwan, and a doctor in Taichung had to listen to his speech and say, you know, I consider myself well educated and informed, but what you say, most of them I don't know. So, you know, last time we were here, not too that many people, you know, and my idea was, you know, to get as many people as possible to listen to his speech. Believe me, this guy, I don't know what's in for him, nothing, right? He's a great American, and as far as I'm concerned, a great human being, stand for the right and the wrong, righteousness, fairness. I have great admire to this guy. Right now we have so many people, and I was talking to him, you know, if possible he should make a trip, travel all USA just like Formosa Betrayal. Let as many people know as possible. You know, last year I was in the premiere Formosa Betrayal show in Los Angeles. You know what Adam Ken, the director, told us? He was standing there and he told us, I didn't know in the 80s there will be some spy agent sent here to kill Americans. This story must be told even if I don't make money as a director. We need to do that. We need to push this. If he's agreed, you know, he's traveled to show it like Formosa Betrayal. How's that? Thank you.
Thanks, David, for the opening remarks. I think most of us, or I would say all of us, all come from Taiwan, or maybe you were born here, but your parents were Taiwan. And we always have the sayings, you know, people from hometown should know what happened there. And he had to travel, this is his first time travel to Taiwan. And he traveled from Taipei to Taichung to Kaohsiung and then back to Taipei. So it's a wonderful trip. And during his trip, he will share with you the details, you know, what he learned, what he heard. He had a chance to visit also Gu Kwanmin, Abian, and lots of people in Taiwan. So lots of inside stories he will share with you. But the most important, I think we all agree, Formosa, our hometown, is a beautiful island. But after his visit, after his speech, he probably share with you, is Taiwan a Formosa beautiful island or a purgatory? So it's something worth you to have thought, okay? So I will not take too much time. Now let's welcome Michael to share with us his trip.
Daka Ho. I learned that in Taiwan. There's always also a clipboard going around, and if you have email and you'd like a free subscription to my articles I write about Taiwan, just put your address on and I'll give you a free subscription. I now love Taiwan after having visited the island and meeting all the fine people there. But it wasn't a love for Taiwan that got me started learning about Taiwan. It was because of my obligation as an American citizen. In a democracy, when the government does wrong, it's the responsibility of the people to do right. And about 2 years ago, I was very ignorant about Taiwan. And then I learned about the Roger Lin lawsuit, and I became curious about what are they saying? What about America's role in the history of Taiwan? And I began studying. And I learned that America has a responsibility that it has not lived up to. And more than that, America has failed to protect the human rights of the people of Taiwan. And that's the topic of my remarks. To begin telling the story of America's failure to protect the human rights of the people of Taiwan, it's necessary to look at a little bit of the history. So if you'll journey back in time with me. August 13th, 1945. That was the day that Douglas MacArthur, a general of the Allied forces, issued what they call General Order Number 1. And General Order Number 1 spelled out how the Japanese soldiers would surrender and to whom and where. And it discussed the surrendering Japanese all over the Pacific theater of war. When it came to Taiwan, it was determined that the Japanese soldiers in Taiwan would surrender to the troops of Chiang Kai-shek. But Chiang Kai-shek's troops had no way to get to Taiwan. So on October 25th, 1945, the United States Navy landed Chinese nationalist troops on the island. And that's how the Republic of China got to Taiwan. The day before the ROC troops were landed on the shores of Taiwan by the United States Navy, the United Nations was born. October 24th, 1945 was the start of the United Nations. But the United Nations would be no help for the long struggle and suffering that the Taiwanese people would soon face under Republic of China regime. In 1946, the Chinese Civil War was going on. The troops of Mao Zedong were defeating the troops of Chiang Kai-shek. The Chinese nationalists were in retreat. America was worried about the communist revolution. America was worried that China would become allied with Russia. So President Truman ordered another one of his generals to go to China and try to make peace between the Chinese communists and the Chinese nationalists, General George Marshall. But Marshall was unable to bring a truce to the Civil War in China. President Truman later explained why his peace mission failed. And I'd like to read you a sentence that Truman said explaining why that failed. This is President Truman. The Marshall Mission had been unable to produce results because the government of Chiang Kai-shek did not command the respect and support of the Chinese people. So already, months after America had landed the Chinese nationalists on the island, the president knew that he was dealing with a bad regime. But did nothing. February 28th, 1947, a date that will forever scar the history of Taiwan.